Okay, so thank you so much for coming. It's been the first webinar that I've done in quite a while, and I'm hoping just to talk briefly and quickly and just chuck a lot of thoughts and information out there for 30 minutes, and then I'm hoping that we got 30 minutes for questions, and that's about you guys saying, okay, this is our situation, or this is our experience, and I'm hoping that some of you will have stuff to share that adds value to what I'm saying. If you've got some questions, that's great, but we're here for you. If anyone wants to then get some of our time after this session to talk about your specific situation and pick up specific information, then that's brilliant. We can do that. Okay. And I just wanted to set the background for this. Oh, sorry, privacy opinion. We're recording you. Big Brother is in operation. We are recording this, and we will put this on the website. And if you've got any issues with that, if you want to change anything, want to take you off, that's fine. Just let us know. And it's data-protection@pebblebridgefundraising.com, and you can let us know about your DP choices. Okay. So we're talking about today just really briefly what the last 12 months is, and this is, and it has to be, it's a smooshed together set of thoughts of everyone that we've worked with over the last sort of 18 months or so, and this session I wanted to do almost as a kind of reaction to some of the things that I've been seeing and that we've been encountering around the charity sector and with the clients we've been working with. And there's some really great stuff happening out there, some real proactivity in the planning side, but there's also some challenges to that, and some retrograde steps that I'm hoping to challenge, and you may recognize some of that. So just going to touch on the last 12 months very briefly, and the power of planning, and then look at the key elements of a plan, and just go back through how we are supporting. So in the last 2 weeks, I've been with 3 charities, and each of them has been, right, how do we plan this? How do we look at the next year? What does 23-24 look like? Okay. And then the last half hour, hopefully, will be questions from you guys. If you've got questions as we go, that's absolutely fine. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but one of my lovely colleagues will flag my attention and tell me that someone's asking a question, and I'll try and answer it as best I can. Okay, but if you want to wait till the end, that's absolutely fine as well. So again, a real kind of smushed together experience. This is the general vibe that I think we've been seeing from the charities that we've engaged with over the last 18 months. And COVID's kind of, it's gone now, but it hasn't. Like me, I've got, since I had first COVID, I've got this little chest thing. I've got this little wheezy cough, annoying thing that won't kind of go away. And that seems to be a metaphor for what's happening with most of our charity, partners. Is it's kind of over now, but there's a lingering thing. There's still an impact. There's still an effect happening on that. And particularly, as I'll touch on later, in some fundraising areas, are being still affected by the effects of the pandemic, and some of the ways that we communicate, and some of the ways that we change has changed. Fundraising has been tough, so I thought it was really instructive and a really clear signal that Comic Relief came in 33% down. Was it 2.5 weeks ago? And that feels right. What we have been seeing, not always, not in every single case, what we've been seeing is that trends are down. Cost of living challenge is reducing the number of people who feel comfortable at the moment to contribute to charity, but we're seeing gifts down, but we're seeing averages up. It's really interesting. What we're seeing is, particularly in the work that we do, a lot of the individual giving stuff, and particularly the focus on high value, as I mentioned later, those that have the resource are recognizing the need of the situation and are responding and are putting back in. Others who would normally find a smaller amount to give are not able to give that amount at the moment. So there's generally a balancing out. I think what we're finding is that a lot of charities are seeing deficit budgets this year, forecasting deficit budgets for next year, but there's quite a few that actually are managing to get to where they wanted to be, but they're achieving it through different means. They're achieving it through a greater focus, and that's the success that I want to portray here. It's about that focus and plan and structure on where the work needs to be delivered, that I think is doing that. I'm not an events and community fundraiser. I'd hold my hand up. I've managed to avoid community and events fundraising for 30 years, and I'm not going to start getting into now. I have nothing but love and praise for all you guys that actually get out there and do that. But everyone is telling me it is so tough. It's been really difficult. Mass participation events really tough. Community is difficult. Just the engagement is hard as well. And what we're seeing is, classically, the number of events for each charity reducing and focusing down on a smaller number of flagship activities where the resource can really put in. I think that's the right approach. Corporate is just so tough at the moment. and there's no money out there for corporate. However, it's still really important to engage a corporate audience, even if that's with a non-financial offer at the moment, because building those relationships, because there will be a time at which corporate comes back. And if we haven't engaged, and if we only follow the money, if we only do that, then we're not going to be able to reaccess that audience. Trusts, however, great. Trust, really strong. A lot of trusts have really stepped up and said, yeah, this is what we exist to do. We'll help meet the needs. So a lot of trust plans and programs have been performing really strongly, and there's a really good program for the future. So it's swings and roundabouts, but overall, it's been really tough. We've been really worried at times, but we've got there, we survived. And generally, every team that we've been working with has been absolutely flat out, and they've worked incredibly hard to deliver a slight deficit budget. If I was to average out everybody, that's probably the picture. That's probably what it sounds like. And so the challenge for 23-24, again, in the main, we've got to deliver more income from a smaller fundraising program with a smaller fundraising team with slightly less budget to work with. That generally seems to be the vibe amongst every organization we're working with. This is the challenge. We've got to try and do more from less with less in the next financial year. And how do we do that? And the answer is about, as we're saying, about focus and planning. So the planning challenge for 23-24 is to make sure that every single pound or euro of fundraising spend and the limited resource that you guys have, and this is a constant conversation that we're having at the moment, is that you cannot do everything you want to do. You really can't. You have a limited amount of headspace of time, and no matter what the pressure from the CEO or the trustees, you have a certain amount of hours in the day and hours in the week, and no matter how much volunteer time you put in on weekends, there's so much you can do. So you've got to invest that limited resource in the best way possible, delivering the highest return investment activity. And that's going to take a lot of discipline and structure and planning, and that's the process that we're going to talk about this morning. So those of you who've heard me speak before, you know I'm going to start with audience. You know this already, okay? I'm going to say to you that the starting point of all successful fundraising is an understanding of your audience, and never has that been more important than now, because you've got a really weird situation in that some people who might have been responsive in the past no longer are for different reasons, because of pandemic or cost of living, etc., etc. You've got other people that are now able to step forward that maybe wouldn't have supported you before. But you've got to understand and know your audience. And there are four key things, and there are overlaying factors about understanding audience. And the first one is giving history. I have been really surprised the challenge that so many fundraisers face in trying to understand their donors' giving history, simply because the CRM, the donor raisers, whatever it is, makes it hard to take that helicopter view of where the giving history is. You have to know the question you want to ask before you get the answer out. And if you don't answer the right question, you don't get the right answer. We don't care. We look at every database completely in the round, and we don't care what database everyone's on. And so the giving history, the best indicator by far of future predicted income is what's happened in the past. And it's not just single gift. It's about combination of giving. It's a combination of time. It's a combination of touch points as well. But their engagement history with you and your charity is the strongest indicator that you will have. And that will tell you where you need to start. And what's fascinating is still the number of charities that we work with, and when we encounter the databases, what we're seeing is there is a plan, but that plan is effectively spread evenly over everyone in the database. Everyone gets the same plan, everyone gets the same program, everyone gets the same attention, the same time and money spent on them, where actually the value of some of that audience is vastly different to the value of most others. So understanding the giving history is absolutely crucial, and saying, right, how much money have we had from people? I'm focusing here, guys, on individual giving because it's where all this stuff needs to come from. But the logic here absolutely applies to every other audience. So if you're looking at events or community activity, it's the events and community activity engagement that is your strongest signal. For corporates, it's the corporate engagement strongest signal, etc., etc. Where you've got evidence of engagement, that is the best predictor of future engagement as well. Overlaying on top of that is the motivation behind their support. Why is someone here? And that allows you to identify those people who, irrespective of amounts, may have a specific reason and a specific high personal motivation for wanting to support you that indicates their future giving. So for those of us working in the health sector, and I know there's many health charities here, for where you have the support of someone for whose close loved one you have cared for or looked after, provided services, that is an incredibly strong indicator of future support. Even if that's not cash support right now, there's a really strong flag for potential giving in wills or potential giving at some point in the future. So if you can overlay, if you understand the motivation behind someone gift, then you can apply that and add that to the knowledge you have about their giving history. And that helps you to intensify that focus on where your energy should be spent. And we were talking to a charity just last week about this, saying, well, how do you do that? You ask them. And the best time to ask them is the point at which they walk into the organization. So for all that work you do for donor acquisition, the best time to ask someone and to get an opportunity for engagement with an individual is at the point they first walked in the door and go, hey, Fred, here you go, here's some money. Thanks very much. Oh my God, that's amazing. Brilliant. Would you mind telling us a bit more about this? Why? If we can understand the motivation at the point at which someone walks in, it helps us to identify the future potential lifetime value and therefore the kind of comms plan we want to give to people. There is also wealth and giving potential that you can overlay on that. Now, this is something we would always do for capital appeals, for example. We're going to wealth profile. We're going to identify, do we know anyone that's a known philanthropist that's got money? Do they live in a particular area? What are the house prices like, etc.? A number of simple indicators we can overlay. It's not the most important thing. And I've seen there's a couple of data models going around at the moment where they're adding in giving history and wealth profiling and location, etc. The problem is that I think a lot of these models are applying equal weighting to each of these factors, and it's not right. The highest weighting is absolutely on the relationship and the giving history, particularly within the health sector, guys, because you're not looking at how much money someone gives based on what they own and what they earn and the price of their house. If you've looked after mum, then you are going to want to support that charity to the maximum of your possible benefit, irrespective of your personal circumstances. And what you will always find, certainly classically within hospices, for example, regional organizations looking after local communities, the strongest supporters are not the millionaires. They're not the big philanthropists. They're the local people who have had an incredible personal experience and want to be able to repay something, and there's dedicated support over a number of years. And that's why we're always looking not just at one-off gifts, but cumulative giving as well. Location also really important. If you simply target on location, you will make mistakes. Most of the time, it is not the wealthiest areas, not the best postcodes in a particular patch that turn out to be the highest value supporting areas. It's those with a connection to the organization. So what we'll be doing, and we are at the moment, have been in the last couple of weeks with a number of charities, is right, what's the starting point? Where's the giving history? Let's understand that. Let's understand who are the best supporters, where they go, what's their motivation, what do we know about that? What do we know about their wealth or giving potential? Where are they? Is that a different conversation depending on where they are? So we have a starting point of knowledge and understanding with audience, and that gives us the first thing we need, and that allows us to start identifying our 80-20. Those of you who heard me speak before, I apologize if I'm boring you by going on the 80-20 rule. It is so important. It's absolutely fascinating talking to Paul, who does all our data crunching. I don't think we've ever been at more than 2% outside. So every single database we've ever seen is it's between the top 78 and 82% of giving is always given between the top 18 to 22% of supporters. Yeah. So the 80-20 rule, you will be getting 80% of your income from 20% of the people who give it to you. Okay. And what's scary when we do sort of deeper dives, analysis, etc., we usually find that the top 1/3 in the whole history of giving, in the whole history of time, the top third of income will probably be coming from something less than 4% of the donor basis on there. And that 80-20 rule is absolutely crucial. I was there saying it yesterday. If your chief exec or your suddenly massively enthusiastic board of trustees are saying, we need another 20% of net income this year, guys, because we've got to get up there. Okay, to achieve 20% growth of net income from a fundraising plan, you can either try and double everything that you get from 80% of people who support you at the bottom of your donor pyramid, or you can add 1/4 to the value of that you receive from the top 20%. The latter is way easier, and with your limited resource and time and budget, that's where the focus has to be. But you don't know who those people are unless you do that data crunch in the first place. That's why that familiarity, that understanding is absolutely crucial, and it's what we're working on with a number of charities at the moment. Let's get to the starting line knowing who we want to focus on. Yeah, that's not to say that everyone else doesn't get anything. The 80% at the bottom, let's have a nice, mostly automated comms program and series of asks that allows people to join the different fundraising routes that we have, respond to the propositions, and that's brilliant. Let's make sure they know that they're loved. Let's thank them. Let's inform them. But let's do that as cheaply and simply and efficiently as possible, because I need to be spending my time talking to these 50 guys over here who are probably going to represent 25% of my entire budget for the year. Yeah. And it's that kind of focus and structure that we have to have. And it's about single givers and cumulative as well. A classic mistake that we see is that no one's looking for the added cumulative value over time. People are looking for one-off donations rather than actually, hang on, my example that I usually give for you, well, you may have heard me say it before, is one of our charity partners, their second highest ever giver was their lottery administrator, in-house lottery administrator. And over 20 years, she had fundraised and donated back a year and a half salary to that charity, and no one had the slightest idea, because it was 300 quid here and 200 quid there and 50 quid there, etc. But she was an incredible supporter of that charity, totally under the radar, because no one was looking for it. We look for it, and you should be too. And you look at the entire giving history. We've had this conversation a number of times in the last month. We have this thing, don't we, where we have this guillotine, as I call it, that comes down after 2 years or 3 years. Oh, someone's not given to us in 3 years. Right then, we're going to wave them off and we're never going to speak to them again. And our GDPR policy says we have to do that. Well, do you know what? We've been through a really weird time over the last 3 years. It may be that someone's massively passionate about the work that we do, but their personal circumstances mean that they haven't been able to give us anything in the last 3 years. But as they come out of this and they reestablish their lives, and maybe they get back into work or whatever it is, they really want to connect with that charity that they love and support. But hey, we've taken a decision that after 3 years, we're not going to speak to them again, so we don't give them that chance. We don't do that. We want to look back at everyone who has evidenced the passion and commitment of their support, and we want to give them another opportunity to come back in and come and support and come and re-engage. So you will see from all of the work that we do, we are always challenging our clients to include amazing supporters. They haven't given for kind of 10 or 12 years sometimes, but we want to include them because 10, 12 years ago, they were fantastic. And we think there's a really good opportunity for them to support again. So the GDPR gets in the way sometimes. If you've gone full opt-in, I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. You should try and change that as soon as possible. You don't need to. You can go to legitimate interest for direct mail. You can change your privacy policy. There is a process and structure you can go through that says, I know we had this rule before, but actually that's proved not to be the thing that's right for us or for our supporters. So we're going to change how we do it. And your GDPR policy can be as lenient and open as you wish it to be for non-electronic communications. Yeah, electronic, PECA 2003, you've got to have opt-in. That's a given. But for direct mail, certainly, it is effectively your choice about how you choose to have a relationship with your supporters. My favorite is always the Dogs Trust, because they say we will choose to continue to communicate with you for up to 17 years after your most recent contribution. And that's because that's the average lifespan of a dog we look after. Has no correlation to GDPR, but you know what? That's their policy and that's what they do. So fine, 17 years, no problem. So how do we make sure that we give ourselves the opportunity? We're working with a number of organizations that are at a moment. There's this emergence from pandemic. That's weird, new, different, scary. It's not revenue. It's not just the merry-go-round. That's a new reason to speak to someone that says, look, I know it's been a while, but actually, could we re-engage with you because we have a specific need, we have a specific challenge. You've been incredible in the past. We hope you might want to be part of the solution in the future. If you've got a 3-year rule, you cut those off. You can't approach them. So we're always saying, give yourself the option where you possibly can and use the law, use GDPR to give yourself the flexibility that you might need. One of our hospice clients a few years ago, literally the roof burned down. It's the example I was given. It actually happened. They had a fire, the roof burned down. Do you know what? They just went to everyone, said, oh shit, the rooster's burned down, we need you. And everyone responded. No one was bothered about, hang on a minute, has it been 37 months since I last get, no. I care about you. The rooster's burned down. You've got to move patients off site while you rebuild. Yeah, I'm there. What do you need? So there are times, and this is one of those times, when we need that opportunity to speak to people and give them the opportunity to re-engage with something they love, even if they haven't done recently, because we're not going to make decisions about why they chose not to give recently. And our overall objective is to map our limited resource to the income. And this is a real challenge. And I bet if you look at your own program, if I would say to you, right, are you spending 80% of your time? Are you spending 4 days out of 5 focusing entirely on the needs and opportunities and communications with the 20% of your supporters that are going to give you 80% of the money? I bet you're not. I know that's hard. I know that's tough. But how close can you get to devoting that amount of time in the same ratio as the amount of income? Because that's how you're going to maximize your income. Yeah. Right, you know your audience, you've done the work, you're giving history, you've got your demographic information, your motivation overload, etc. You've identified your 20%. Within those, you've got your major donors, you've got your high net worth individuals, etc. Absolutely great. Right, who cares? Why should anyone care about what you do? You're a charity and you come out of the pandemic and you need help. Every charity is coming out of the pandemic and every charity does great work and everyone needs help. Why should these individuals care about you now and respond? What's the need? What's the story? And there's a lot, and this is one of the reactive bits, is there's a lot of charities we speak to recently saying we've just been told to get out there and raise more money. Well, duh, why? And what's lacking sometimes is that engagement from the service side of the charity saying, right, here's the challenge. Here's the problem we've got. Here's the mission we're on. Here's the journey we're on in terms of service delivery to meet the needs of this community in this way, or this group of people with this condition. Yeah. And that's what's stopping us. And here's what would enable that. And therefore, now can you go out and raise the money because you've got something to talk about? You have to have something to talk about. You have to have that proposition. And it is a journey. We're seeing quite a lot of examples of charities where fundraising comms almost seems to be like there's an ask and it goes out there, we need your money and here's a thing, and it's got pictures on it, and then it comes back in and then that dies, and then 3 months later here's another thing and we need some money and it comes back in, and there's no connection between those. It's a series of little bubbles of activity and message that go out. That's, do you know what, for the 80%, that's okay, that's all right. Here's a thing, here's an opportunity, here's what it is, here's how you can engage, here's something we might give back to you. Is that right for you? Do you want to do that at the moment? Brilliant. There you go. Fine. For your top 20%, it's not good enough. The top 20%, and particularly at the top of that pyramid, they need a journey. Where are you going? What does this year look like? Where's the horizon that you're aiming for? Those of you who've seen the webinars will heard me speak about that. Where's the landing pad? Yeah, we're on a journey towards something in the future that gets us there, and we're like, oh, okay, we're through it. Right. We've got a positive budget. We've delivered what we're going to do. We've got great relationships. And now let's move forward from there. You're not there yet, almost certainly. You're on this linear journey. What is that journey? What's the challenge? And where's the flow of communications? I'm concerned there's a couple of conversations over the last couple of months where charities say, right, we have this amazing appeal. Right. That's what we need to achieve from our appeals now. And that's what we budgeted. No. It's not going to happen. There will be times when you have the most amazing, the sexiest, the most powerful, the most emotive fundraising, the most immediate zeitgeist fundraising proposition in the world. And you know what? Your audience are going to respond to you and go, oh, that's amazing. And they're going to give. They're not going to respond like that every single time. And you must. And the powers that be, your finance director, bless them, don't we love them? The finance director needs to understand that there is a flow. And there are times when we can hit our audience between the eyes with something incredibly powerful, and they will respond to that, but only times. There are other times when we're going to invest deliberately in having a longer, more cerebral, more engaged conversation with those audiences. And we're going to ask them for money for something that's a bit tougher, that's a bit more, needs a bit more explaining. Yeah. And we're going to get a low response rate. But we're going to do that. That's fine, because actually over the course of the year, our line of average should be there. We should come above that and below that through the year with what we receive from particular campaigns. It's not always going to hit the same amount. It can't always be that 100% the roof's on fire urgent. We haven't got that. You need to plan that in. So for me, the year has to be planned. What's that flow of comms? Where does that go? Yeah. And also we do a lot, all this obviously for individual giving. All these stories, all these problems and solutions that we're talking about, and all these issues, these are fundraising needs that flow across our entire organization. They're not just IG. Again, one of the challenges I see is you've got the individual giving team with the plan over here that's talking about this stuff. Meanwhile, corporate fundraisers out there having a completely different conversation about something totally different. Community out there with a different theme or name or campaign or banner. There's a running event with some totally different logo on it over there. Oh, and by the way, trusts is being applied to for something that no one else has ever heard of. You've actually got a general need, and a lot of the work that goes into creating a campaign, particularly for individuals, delivers everything you need for every other type of fundraising. Why can't we all talk as a team about the same problem at the same time in the same language and use the same examples? We're just asking people to react in different ways, but the need, the reason why they should act is the same. Let's use that. Let's have coordination across the team where we possibly can. And this last bit is a real moan from me, right? The number of times things. How many times, Ellie, I'm looking at you when I'm saying this, because how many times we heard recently, oh, we need general funds. Bless you, you do. Of course you do. And my heart goes out to any fundraiser who's been told by the powers that be, you've got to go and raise general funds. No. You've got to go and raise funds. And what you should be raising is the most funds that you can raise for your charity that allows your service delivery guys to go and be the incredible human beings that they are. Yeah. Now, you are going to raise more funds by restricting or designating some of that, because the best asks and the best fundraising is where it's specific, smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely, tangible asks. This is the problem. This is the solution. This is how we solve it. This is what it costs. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Yeah. Now, I am not saying that any charity should just go and look for opportunities for restricted income somewhere because there's some money out there. We don't want to be going and raising money for platinum plated unicorns that are just going to sit there looking pretty, but not actually deliver any benefit for anyone. But you will, at the moment, all of you, if you've got an April to April year, all of you will have a service delivery team that has basically finished their budgets now. And you have got a core budget, a core expenditure budget for the whole of next year. And it's sat there and it's a big list of all the things they want to spend money on. So you can take those elements and we can use those to build tangible, strong, specific, measurable fundraising opportunities. Yes, the money will be restricted, but that's fine. You're going to spend the money anyway on that stuff. The core budget that then is not needed because that restricted pot comes in to take care of it, that core budget that was already there, that can then be released and your FD can go and spend that on whatever he wants. She wants, they want, whatever. Yeah. That's fine. So we're always going to push. There's a lot of general funds. No funds. How do we incentivize the supporter to engage in the best way possible? And that is by being specific and tangible. So general funds as a last resort only. Otherwise, I'll come and see your board of trustees and shout at them myself. Okay. And a case support. It's a conversation again we've had a few times. Case support for capital appeals. We're building a thing. Here's what it is, here's where it is, here's why, here's what it costs, here's how much, here's the timescales, here's the costs, and here's what we're doing. Fine. We understand that from capital. You need one now, I think, for revenue. I would challenge you. Do you have, and I'm not saying if you went on your website and mooched around for half an hour, could you find it? Do you have, let's say, a 4-page document that says, right, here's what we're doing. Here's what we do, here's why, here's the challenge, here's the solution, here's the journey, here's the cost, here's how you can contribute, and here's what we're going to do if you do. Here's how we're going to say thank you if you do. Have you got that boiled down into a simple, understandable document? Because that's what you need. For this next year, you need a simple message going, this is where we're going. And that's explainable. And for me, that case support defines your journey over the next year, defines the potential relationships you can offer to these audiences in the next year. And you can, it's a way you articulate and evidence the problem and solution. Oh, we need to do more of this. We need to have more of this service over here. Why? Well, because this thing's happened, or the NHS is struggling and we've got to deal with patients in a certain way, or there's more people with hearing disabilities that need support dogs. Okay, fine. Let's evidence this. And let's make sure that we've got those stories in there. And the case studies and real stories are vital. I'll touch on creative in last. I'm over time. I've just looked at my watch. I'm sorry. recognize that. I'm going to try and get through quickly. It's that reality, that case of support. It's your Bible. It's 4, 6, whatever it is, pages that just says, this is the point of this. This is why anyone should care and why anyone should respond. It's the thing you'd like to send in advance of the meeting with the amazing donor that you found through your research before you go and see them to talk about the potential support they can give you. Or it's the thing you'd like to leave behind having had that in-person conversation. Yeah. It's the thing you'd like to have up on the website. It goes, do you know what? If you ever needed to know why supporting us is an amazing idea right now, an incredible thing for you to achieve with your philanthropy, here's what it is. And it's surprising. It really is surprising how seldom we find that knowledge and information just pushed together into one small space. It goes, there you go. That's what we need. And we do it all the time for capital appeals. We're not just in a happy merry-go-round revenue cycle anymore. We have a challenge. We've got to respond to it, and we've got to show the reason why and explain it. And a really quick one. Kathy, I can't see it, but I'm waving at you. So Kathy from Worcester Cathedral is with us this morning, and I asked permission. I did ask permission if I could share this. So we began working with the Cathedral 2018, I think, and I'd never worked with a cathedral before. You might be surprised to find, I'm not a regular cathedral goer. It's not my natural haunt. But it was absolutely wonderful. My in-laws are in Worcester. It's an amazing place. It's just an incredible place. But building a case support, we said, right, we need a case support. Why should people give money to a cathedral? And it was a really difficult question. I just didn't know. Why should people give money to a cathedral? And particularly because a lot of people thought, well, cathedrals are loaded, aren't they? Cathedrals are just, you're drenched in gold and money, and the cellars full of, barrels and stuff. Surely cathedrals don't need any money. Actually, cathedrals really, really struggle, as I've learned and engaged with a number of other cathedrals since then. Cathedrals find it really difficult. There is no massive Church of England pot of money or Catholic Church pot of money that supports cathedrals. Worcester Cathedral is 1,650 years old. It's an old building. Bits of it fall off on an alarmingly regular basis, But what we did was we looked at, right, let's break this down. Why would someone support cathedral? We're building case support. And what we found was there were 5 key areas of engagement. And there were 5 different reasons. And it's a Venn diagram where each of these reasons kind of overlap with each other. And some people have multiple motivations behind it. But the first one was worship. This is the place I engage with God. This is the place that I bring my faith into action, and this is my space. This is my house for that engagement and that interaction. Therefore, that's why this place is important to me. Okay. For others, it's a place of celebration. It's the place where if there's a state funeral or a huge great celebration, or the university is having all its graduation ceremony, that kind of thing, it's the place where that happens because it's an amazing space in the middle of the city, and that's fantastic. So it's a civic center of excitement and engagement for some people. For others, it was an enormous community center. It's a beacon of our local community, reaching out and supporting our local population. Yeah, of being a place and a center of engagement for local people. And that's why I'm passionate about the cathedral, because it's that hub in the middle of the city where it gives a focal point to us caring about our city. For others, it was music. It has an amazing history of music and concerts, and there's a 3 choirs festival going to it, and that was some people's motivation for it. And yet others, it's just a 1,650-year-old incredible building, and we're passionate about the building and the space and the feeling inside. Yeah. And so there's each of these 5 different reasons. And what we've learned over time is that different people have very, very, very different reasons why they might choose to engage and support the cathedral. And what was instructive, hugely instructive, legacy focus group. I don't know if any of you guys have organized a focus group, a supporters focus group. And it's normally the kind of thing where you have to kind of send out a message to like 1,000 people, and you get 12 people turning up, and then you have the conversation, right? This one, I think we wrote out to 200 people. So about 200, 250 people, maybe something like that. It wasn't a great amount. And I think we got 80 people turning up. It was absolutely remarkable. It was the strongest response we've ever had. We actually did 2 sessions on the same day in the end. And we're asking people like, okay, it was about legacy giving, and what do you think, and where's your plan, where's your passion, where's your focus? And we broke these 5 areas of engagement down. We gave people opportunities to support them. Do you know what's fascinating? Absolutely fascinating. What came out top, the strongest reason for supporting this 1650-year-old cathedral, music. That was the thing that came out of there. And it was really instructive, and kind of Kathy and the team knew that anyway, but actually it was really instructive to have that information. So as a fundraising organization, it allows the cathedral to go, okay, there are different reasons why people choose to. Right, let's make sure that we have a plan now and a program where we can talk about these different areas of opportunity and engage people in different ways. Okay, we talked about audience, we've got proposition, case support. How do you communicate? I'm going to bang on about direct mail, and I am going to, because it is successful. It is consistent, it's controllable, it is GDPR friendly, and massively importantly, the demographic that have the money at the moment, the baby boom generation who are retired with safe pensions, who have paid off their mortgages, who are not in the main hugely affected by the cost of living increase, they are massively responsive to direct mail. Yes, digital is important. Digital is much cheaper. It's important. It's part of that growing communications plan. But what's fascinating over the last 2 or 3 years, the number of times heard charities saying we did a digital only campaign, it was brilliant, raised £20,000, £25,000, couldn't be happier. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. We've been delivering digital campaigns as well as DM, and we're seeing the 25,000 from the digital, but another 100 or 150 or 175 in one case from a direct mail campaign to 6,000 people. That audience, that demographic, has a certain comfort zone in the way that they respond, the way they interact, particularly about transferring money digitally is really uncomfortable. My father-in-law is 76. He's still, up until 2 years ago, he would walk into the building society and pay his mortgage every month in person because he wasn't going to trust anything else. There is an audience, and so DM is hugely important. And we're doing a lot of work on not just mass market DM, but also a lot on the high value and the major donor front, a lot of high-end personalization going into that. Replicate mass market direct marketing, but delivered in a way that looks and feels like personal one-to-one communication between one individual at the charity and one supporter. And it's hugely successful because it's the way that audience is comfortable in responding. Yeah. So overall, it's about working on smarter, not just being busier. Again, a couple of people have said to me recently, we've been told, go and do more stuff. We want to see more activity. We want to see more evidence that you're out there. Where's the bucket shakes? Where's the things outside the shop? Where, that kind of, it's there, it's visible. It's as, oh, I can see the brand out and about. That makes me, trustee, whatever it is, feel better about it. It's not how you raise the money. And I think that, again, send me to them if that's what you're being told, because that's not how you maximize the income. Just being busy isn't the answer. Being the busiest you can be on the best and most successful work, that's how you maximize your profit and your income. Personal contact where reasonable. Your best supporters, you've got to speak to people in person. There's no substitute for it. And if you can't speak in person, again, we're using a lot of high-end, high-personalized direct marketing techniques to make sure we can have that pseudo-personal connection and conversation with individuals without having to actually go and see people. Second point, really important, engage the key supporters with the challenge. This case support, your year plan, here's what we're going, here's what the year looks like. If you simply turn up going, yeah, this is us and we're doing all this and can we have some money, they'll either say yes or no. But if you identify the really, really top of your pyramid, the really important supporters, and get at them and go, this is the challenge we face, what do you think? How do you feel about this? What would you suggest? How can we get involved? What is there any opportunities that you feel that we can have for engaging our community? My colleague Andrew famously says, if you ask for money, you get advice, and if you ask for advice, you get money. It is absolutely true every single time. So for those key audiences, if they're part of the problem, if they share the challenge and share some sense of ownership of the solution to that challenge, the money comes, yeah, whatever, we'll give you the money. That's the engagement you want. That's the opportunity. And that's where, as fundraisers, I would want you to be putting pressure back up to your chief execs and your trustees going, this is where I need you. I need you in a room evangelizing and selling, basically, for 10, 15 minutes, and I'll do the rest of the work. But I need you to get people emotional. I need you to get people feeling, because then I can go in and I can talk to them about money. Yeah. Detailed, excellent customer service for best supporters. Of course, you do that. You've got to have the plan. We're talking about legacies recently. We can do a legacy campaign, What are you going to do when 60 people basically get back in touch with you and go, yeah, actually, I'm interested in giving in wills. Do you want to come have a conversation with me, or can you send me some stuff? How are you going to resource that response? So you can have the campaign and you can identify the prospects. Are you ready to actually then do the groundwork and do the thing? And that's often the challenge. So make sure that you are ready for that before you go out the cons, because the last thing you want to do is say to someone, hey, you're amazing and we want to communicate. And they go, hey, that'd be brilliant. And they go, yeah, a couple of months time because I'm really busy. You've got to be able to be prepared for that. So that's your resource challenge and your planning. Who's going to do this stuff? Who's going to have those communications? And the last thing, a simple, effective plan for the majority. You can use mass market, digital, and DM techniques to make sure that your 80% of your supporters, and most of the ones at the bottom of the top 20%, get a lovely plan. They feel loved, they feel thanked, they feel engaged, they feel warm. But it's pretty much automated. You don't need to worry about it because you've got a program. It allows you to focus your human time on those people that are giving you the most income. And the timing plan, you're going to have fixed points. It's going to be a big event. There's some immense dog walk that you always do and you couldn't possibly get rid of the immense dog walk, or Christmas is vital and we can't possibly do that Christmas. Of course, you've got to fit it around your stuff. That's absolutely fine. But again, what's that flow? What's that comms? And don't be afraid in times of need to go out with more touch points that you might ordinarily be comfortable with, or your audience might ordinarily be comfortable with in a classic revenue year. If you need more engagement because you've got more stuff to talk about, go do it. Have that engagement. Make sure that your plan and your flow tells your supporter, hey, Fred, that was brilliant. Thank you very much for supporting that thing a couple of months ago. I'm here to tell you about something completely different. I hope that's okay. We love you. You're brilliant. But let me share this next bit of information with you. Don't forget, your supporters are not sitting there in an empty prison cell with nothing to read other than the things that you send them. You are one of a huge number of organizations that bombard people with marketing messages and a large number of charities that ask them for money. Okay. Your support, unless you are mailing them every week, your supporters are not sitting there going, oh my God, they never leave me alone. Okay. As long as you explain why, and as long as you reflect on the relationship that you have, people will understand. If you need to reach people more often, do so. Okay. And again, that 5 point, all fundraising activity can have the same consistent themes and stories. Why aren't we all in our teams talking about the same stuff at the same time, using the same stories, using the same evidence? Yeah. We're just asking people to engage in a different way. That's all. And lastly, I'd like to know, what does it look like? This is serious times. So the message is more focused, it is more serious, but it's clear, it's consistent. It's simple language. This is where we are. This is where we're going. This is the opportunity we have. This is how you can engage. Yeah. And we want to show the work. We want to show the benefit. We want to evidence what we're saying by telling stories, by giving examples, and crucially, by using the voices of those that matter the most, the voices of those that provide the service that we care about, the voices of those that receive the benefit that we care about, wherever possible. If anyone is forced into using a bloke in a suit like me as chief executive or trustee, again, send them to me and I'll shout at them. No one cares what I think. No one cares. When I was chief executive of charity, it was never my voice on fundraising campaigns, because who cares what I think? It's the people that actually deliver and receive that matter. Those are the real experiences. Those are the voices we've got to use. Yeah. And supporters want the payoff, the amazing experience. There's been a couple of things where they're like, oh, it's terrible. Oh, we're in an awful, horrible situation. Could you please give me? Well, that's fine. That emergency. Oh, isn't it appalling? You can do that if it's real and honest once. What's going to motivate people to stick with you and to give with you is giving them that incredible experience. Supporting a charity is not you them responding to you, send them a begging letter. This is them having an opportunity to do something incredible for their community, or for a part of the community they care about, or for a particular group of people or animals, or the environment, whatever it is. There is an opportunity for someone to achieve their personal goals through you, the conduit. We're giving that opportunity. So let's share that opportunity. Let's celebrate that. Let's say thank you, not give them that, the guilt hand-wringing thing. We need to make sure that we say, this is serious, this is real, there is a problem, but there is a solution, and here's how it is. It all comes back to that, the case support argument, etc. Yeah. Right. Summary. I'm way over time, as I knew it would be. time taken to plan. I know you're busy. I know everyone is really busy. I was having this conversation with someone last week. How the hell do I take time away? Because I've got 19 dog walks to organize in the next 3 months, you know? How do you take the time away from stuff? But the time you spend planning, the time you're able to devote to audience understanding, proposition development, and then that year plan and flow, if you can get that done, it makes the rest of your year so much easier and so much more manageable. And it will be worth it because you will be making sure that you're allocating your resource to the audience. You'll have a plan to reach them, propositions, you'll have identified the media, how much you're digital, what DM you're going to be doing, what else, your PR, etc., and press you're going to be doing. You've thought about, and this is a really important point in timing, I'm really encouraging people, think about this whole next year as one fundraising campaign, just broken down into little different sections, that's all, rather than a thing, and then another thing in June, and then another thing in September, and then we got Christmas, and then another thing in March. It's a journey. So break that journey down, allow people to be on board with you, yeah? And creative, show the magnificence of the work, and tell stories and be real. And of course, thank and thank and thank and ask again, but do ask again. Okay, remember that, really important. Do ask again. Chair of Trustee said to me, "Oh, I'm really happy about the fact that all the way through the pandemic we didn't ask anyone for any money. I'm really proud of that, and that's fine because they're doing all right, and that's brilliant. But now you're in a position where you need money, so what you've now got is 2 years of no engagement and no interaction, and that's going to make that journey harder. Yeah, so maintain that momentum, maintain that relationship is really important. Okay. And finally, us. That first point, I say this to everybody. If you know me, if I've met you, you'll heard me say this. If you can do this, the stuff that we've talked about, if you can do that yourself and you can be brilliant at it, then go and do that and be magnificent and come and ask us for a quick bit of advice and support if you need it. And we will gladly give that to you with no obligation. Absolutely brilliant. Go and be the magnificent fundraiser that you are. But if you haven't got the time, if you haven't got the resource, or you haven't got that background of expertise and knowledge, or bluntly, you just can't get to that because you've got 17 dog walks to organize in the next 3 months, that's when you can bring us in. We will jigsaw in around your capacity to give you the bits of this planning work and this thought that you need to be successful. We'll do the audience review, we'll do analysis, and there's various depths of that. We can tell you your 80-20, we can signpost people for you. We've just done it for a charity recently. There's your major donors, there's your high net worth individuals, there's the rest of the 20%, there's your 80%, right, here's the plan. We can give you that as a starting point for you to finesse and develop. We can help with proposition development as well. I do a lot of that. Sometimes it's quite helpful to have an outsider coming in and going, right, who cares about your charity? What actually are you doing and why should anyone give you money? And how to articulate that sense into fundraising propositions. Of course, we deliver all individual giving from all stages and all sizes, and across all media, digital and print as well. We'll help with the planning, and of course we do copy and design, lots of words, lots of pictures in your style, in your voice, in your vibe, that allows you to communicate most passionately with your audiences. If you need it, and if you can't do it yourself, come and talk to us and we'll help you. And the next, coming up next, this is me showing up, I'm going to be talking about capital appeals specifically because there's a lot of capital stuff going on at the moment. Agnes, I'm looking at you when I'm saying this. There's some lot of capital happening at the moment, and there's some kind of really good experiences going on. There's a couple of kind of not so good experiences, and I'm going to hopefully kind of share some of those. From today, I hope that's been useful. Sorry guys, I've ranted on again as I want to do. We're here to help and support. If you would like us to give you some time just to have a chat about your situation, about how you're feeling about it, about how this might have got you thinking about some of the challenges you're facing, just let us know. We'll organize a Zoom or a Teams or phone call, whatever you want. There's no obligation on that. There's no cost on that. Come and talk to us. Come and share. We'll give you the best advice and support that we possibly can. And if we're able to then support them, fantastic. Okay. Right. I'm done. Ellie, how are we doing for time? Oh my God, 7 minutes to 11. Sorry.
We have one question, Ash.
Go for it.
We've got one question in the chat from Beth at St Wilfrid's. She says, would you suggest emailing supporters to engage with them, but not with a monetary ask? Perhaps a short survey to answer about why they like to support you.
Yes. I like digital. I like emails. I'm not keen on relying on emails for solo income generation because the open rates are so low and response rates are so low, and you disenfranchise so many people by going digital only because you don't allow people that comfort zone of responding in the way they want. But email and digital is brilliant for that engagement. Yeah. So questionnaires, absolutely. Engagement, you'll get a tiny response. Yeah, you will get really low responses, but engagement is a great opportunity. The other thing I'd really want to do, and it's something that I used to do in print because that's how old I am, back in the day, was the top supporters, those guys right at the top of the pyramid. We would give them a kind of end of year review. We would write to them usually around Christmas, and we'd write to them and say, do you know what, here's how incredible, here's how amazing you've been in 1996. Yeah, this is what you've done, this is how you've given, this is how you supported, you're amazing, we love you, thank you for that year, we'll be back in touch next year. So again, that kind of almost kind of individualized donor report. We did one campaign that it was a real challenge. We pulled out for a DM campaign, we pulled out all individuals supporter data in terms of giving history and cumulative amount, and we put that in a little box, kind of like, here's your giving report, here's what you've done, here's how amazing you've been. So we told every single supporter, here's how long it's been, here's how many years since you first walked through the door as one of our supporters, and here's the value of what you've done, yeah, in the past however many years it was, in little box going, this is how much we love you. And it was brilliant for most people, but a total disaster when we actually found out that particular charity's giving history records were incomplete, and therefore people were going, how dare you, I gave you £50,000 and you're telling me I've given you £14.60. I'm appalled and offended. So you can only do that kind of stuff when your data is absolutely accurate. But yeah, use email, go and support, go and engage, but expect a really low engagement response. No.
One more question.
Yes.
Any suggestions for those organisations facing lost ESF funds when it comes to planning?
No, and that's because that really isn't my speciality, and I would want to point you to Andrew. I'd want you to go and have a conversation with Andrew about that. So if we wouldn't mind, can we come back to you? Who's asking that?
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn, hi Jocelyn. Not my area of expertise, but Andrew is absolutely a guy. If we get back to you, we'll ask that question and we'll come back to you with a response on email, if that's okay.
I think Jocelyn's from NICFA, is that right? So obviously supports a great number of charities all across Northern Ireland. Yeah. So it might be worth just put you in touch with Andrew at some point.
Yeah. It's a big area with cost of living as well added onto it.
Yeah, I think that'd be useful. I think that'd be realistic. Guys, I'm sorry to I've got to go and prepare for this interview with a lovely gentleman who's given a large legacy gift to one of our charity clients. Going to that. I hope this is useful for you. Sorry, me ranting at you for another 50 minutes. Please do take the opportunity, if you wish, to come back to us, ask us for individual conversation support. That's absolutely fine. We're glad to give that. And I wish you all the best. I hope that you're now going to go away and look at your 23-24 plan and go, aha! And you have some ammunition to go back to your chief exec and trustee and go, no, no, no. Ash said, that's not the way to do it. This is what we're going to do instead. Let me know if you need us, okay? Lovely to see you. Have a great week, rest of the week, and we'll catch up really soon. All right.